The day I decided to stop fabric and call it well-deserved relief. Watch episode 1 if you want to know how a Canadian snowbank made me launch Woven Arcana. Hopefully you'll excuse the wonky angle, I got issue with my footage. Anyway, my startup capital wasn't venture funding. It wasn't some trust, fund, freedom. Just €3. Yes. 3 Foxglove euros and a stack of therapy receipts so thick they could stop a bullet. Picture this. Me hunch over my abundant Crayola Watt crayon. A long story for another time. Tracing blobs onto paper scraps with hands I couldn't decide if they were shaking from caffeine or rage. No fancy 100% cotton cold press, no pricey handmade watercolor with light fastness of a diamond, no perfect technique but pure unfiltered, furry, channeled through crayons. And here's the botanical truth that changed everything for me. The most exquisite flora aren't the one grown in perfect greenhouse condition. They are wild, they survive frost. They are the ones that develop the sharpest thorn because they've had to defend themselves. I spent decades in academia trying to be a perfect orchid, and I was living off soil, with a lost sense of joy and simple pleasure. The academic world I experienced put me in a carefully labeled specimen jars. Here we are the feminine intellectual, not how she diminishes herself to appear less threatening. Foxglove, that noise! I was done being pressed between the pages of someone else's botanical journey. My first embroidery pieces look like the emotional crime scene, which makes sense for a former criminologist. My French knot was looking like a mini disaster when I wanted them to be a middle finger to every system that tried to keep me small, contained and proper. Every satin stitch, despite being chaotic, was me saying, I refuse to be your carefully curated narrative. In my attempt to communicate how I felt inside, I dived into the language of flowers used by Victorian ladies, and I started collecting images and books of toxic plants like other women collect inspirational quotes, Nightshade, hemlock, foxglove, plants that whispers I'm beautiful and deadly. Underestimate me at your peril. I stitched them with reverence, learning their shapes and their pattern and their survival strategies. Woven Arcana wasn't created as a business plan. It wasn't even created as art. It was rebellion, embroider one stitch at a time. It was my SOS, survival, obstinance, and stitching. The revolution doesn't always look like marching in the streets. Sometimes it's a woman at her kitchen table at 2 a.m. surrounded by Swiss chocolate scrapers and a coffee mug covered in stains, stabbing fabrics with thread and refusing to make it cute. Sometimes resistance is as simple as creating something that refuses to be palatable. Sometimes resistance is as simple as poisonous flowers for creative purpose only. Those €3 of craft store thread were the best investment I've ever made in my own survival. Because I finally understood I wasn't a delicate bloom to be protected, but a resilient botanical warfare ready to flower in the most hostile condition. Sometimes revolution looks like an embroidery hoop, and for you, what does your revolution look like?